Hello, I'm Warren Beckus. I'm an elder here at Rock Valley Chapel. I've been attending here with my family for 11 years, and I'd like to talk to you today about God's plan. If we think about God's plan and we think about our own plans, we have an opportunity to make plans about so many things. We've been trained and raised to make plans, short-term plans and long-term plans. We make plans that are about financial matters. How much would we save? How much would we put away for retirement? What house would we buy? How much debt could we carry? We also make plans about relationships, the friends that we'll have, the spouse that we will marry, those types of things. We even consider our careers. What type of work do we like? What would we want to do? Where would we live? Where would we want to work? What type of company? We also consider our education. Where would we go to school? What degree would we try to achieve? We also, much longer term plans are our retirement. When would we retire? What would we want to do in our retirement? Where would we live? But then even further out than that, we can make plans about our own death. We make plans by creating a will and deciding who would receive some of our estate. We also pre-plan our funeral and who would be our pallbearers and that type of thing. So we can make these plans and we can create them on our own desires, or we can go to the Lord and ask for His leading, and He has a plan for our life already. That is something that we need to, one, realize and then also rely upon. He's not surprised that we were born because He created us. He's not wondering where we grew up because He placed us in our mother's womb. And if we think about His plan, we have to realize that this plan has been created since the beginning. And if we go to His Word, we can see a little bit of that when we go to 2 Kings 19:25. Let me read that for you. Have you not heard that I determined it long ago? I planned from days of old what now I bring to pass. So He's created a plan. He's not deviated from that plan, and He will execute that plan. There's not a plan B. He has only one plan. And if we take it a little bit further and think about how we need the Lord and we shouldn't get ahead of Him, we can go to Proverbs 16:9. The heart of man, the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. So He's telling us, He's allowing us to make the plans, but we need to be relying on Him as He places our feet. So those steps are in direction of His plan and executing His plan. But He's allowing us to work some of the plan inside of that. So we can continue to think about His Word, and some of the examples in it is Jonah, when He called him to Nineveh, and Jonah refused and went in the other direction. Jonah went to the coast and boarded a ship and went out to sea, and God convinced him by creating a storm that caused the crew to be concerned and were throwing things overboard when Jonah decided to confess and say it was the reason for the storm was because of him and his rejection of God's plan, and asked the crew to throw him overboard. So he was thrown overboard. The crew and the ship were saved, but Jonah was swallowed by the big fish, and 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the fish before he was spit out on the land. And ultimately, he went to Nineveh, and God's plan was fulfilled. We also think about one of the great stories when God led the Hebrews out of Egypt, and they were not faithful to His plan. He led them up through the wilderness to the land of milk and honey, the promised land, and He told Moses to send in the spies. Moses sent in the spies, and the report came back, a very negative report. saying that there was no chance that they would be able to overtake the inhabitants because they were too big. And so they didn't believe in God's plan. They didn't have the faith that he would go ahead and exercise his plan. And so the punishment was that he took them back out into the wilderness and didn't allow any of those spies and any of those who grumbled against him to enter into the promised land. So we need to be careful. We need to make sure that as God's plan is being executed in our lives, we need to be faithful and allow him to lead us in that. We go to Isaiah, and Isaiah 25:1. O Lord, you are my God. I exalt you. I will praise your name, for you have done wonderful things, plans formed of old, faithful and sure. Here he's telling us that, one, he has created this plan in the beginning. He is faithful to that plan. There's no deviation. And it will be sure. It will be completed and fulfilled. If we look at some of the Christians of this day, today in our lives, I found a book that was written by John Piper, Don't Waste Your Life. On the back cover, he has a quote in here, and I'd like to read that to you. God created us to live with a single passion, to joyfully display his supreme excellence in all the spheres of life. The wasted life is the life without this passion. God calls us to pray and think and dream and plan and work, not to be made much of, but to make much of him in every part of our lives. So we need to have the faith to follow him, and we need to have the patience to let him lead. If we lack in either one of those, we need to be praying for more. Thank you, and have a great day, and God bless.